everyone, my name is Evan and I like to make stop-motion dinosaurs and monsters. And now that Titanus Doug is done, a new Hollow Earth project has begun. So I'm happy to say King Kong is now on the way, I do say.
I am Ignis!
No! To start off the King Kong project today, we'll be making the gorilla skeleton, I say. And as I craft away at this monkey today, the deep dive continues, you could say, into the Hollow Earth, I do say, because we'll be learning about the history on King Kong today. Starting all the way back in 1933. With the original stop-motion animation King Kong. It all started with Marion C. Cooper and Ernest B. Schoedsack, and it was originally a radio production segment, showcasing Skull Island, which is a desolate location near Indonesia, where the film crew led by Carl Denham first discovers the iconic giant ape King Kong. And of course, the humans don't respect Kong or his independence, thus taking him back to New York and having, well, disastrous consequences. And here's a fun fact to know and share. Did you know that a crane was used to raise Kong's hand 10 feet in order to film the sequences with Anne? Yes, believe it or not, that did happen back then. So, you know, I imagine today's standards are pretty safe, but back then, well, motto was more or less safety third, so I can imagine some things were probably a little scary. Now moving along to The Son of Kong, filmed back in 1933. After the massive success of the original King Kong film, it was only natural that The Son of Kong followed suit shortly after. Director Carl Denham returned to Skull Island after just a month of the first events of the first film in the series. Instead, Harry and his intrepid companions stumble upon a big albino ape that they assume to be Kong's son, as well as a menagerie of other outlandish and terrifying humongous beasts. Also, Robert Armstrong thought the sequel was better than the original, due to the added depth to the characters. So there is that. And here's a fun plot twist. What if this albino Kid Kong is actually the one from Rampage? Now, onto King Kong vs. Godzilla, 1962. The Japanese studio Toho brought back the giant ape after nearly 30 years of the first two events of the King Kong films, so audiences might watch him do battle with another giant monster, Godzilla, otherwise known as Gojira. However, in this case, the actors are in full body costume, bringing Godzilla and Kong to life, as they settle their differences on top of Mount Fuji. And fun fact about this film, King Kong was not the original, contender for the fight in this film. It was originally going to be, surprisingly, Frankenstein. Which is odd, I know, but apparently there were some copyright issues with, using King Kong, so they were opting for other opportunities. However, there is still some original plot twists with that fight in mind when, you can see King Kong munching on electric wires and gaining powers from electricity, which is something he has never done before, and to my knowledge has never done since. Now breaking free into the next movie, King Kong Escapes. This film was made in 1967. It only took a few more years until Toho recast Kong into King Kong Escapes. While Ishiro Honda, who directed King Kong vs. Godzilla, also directed this. In this film, Kong fights a robot created by the villainous Doctor Who, where the mechanical clone Kong is known as Mechanicong. And a weird funny fact about this movie is that Linda Miller had to negotiate her pay with the film's executives because it was her first acting role. But yet Miller explained all she wanted was the chance to make a film. Therefore, she would have been satisfied with just about any budget. And given that knowledge, her mother assumed leadership. She was an aggressive negotiator who persisted until the studio gave her the salary that she had asked for. Now, onto King Kong 1976. The original King Kong films were released in 1933, and this plot brings it back into the 1970s. Naturally, when Kong's tranquil existence is interrupted, it's not a film team but an oil firm that sends him back to New York this time. Here, primate paleontologist Jack Prescott is played by Jeff Bridges, whereas blonde beauty Dwan, played by Jessica Lange, is this part's damsel in distress. Factoring in its height, width, and weight, Carumbaldi's mechanical King Kong is the tallest mechanical creature ever built, standing in just at a little over 40 feet tall. And that fact alone makes this King Kong stand out from the rest. And before I get some keyboard warrior in the comment section going, well, what about Rexy from Jurassic Park in 1993? That animatronic was pretty big. Well, Rexy stands in about 20 feet tall. The only other competitor I think that might stand a chance is the Jurassic Park 3 Spinosaurus, which is pretty big. I'm not exactly sure how big it is, unfortunately, so if anyone's able to find that information, let me know in the comments below. Now, fast forwarding to 1986, King Kong Lives. John Gearman returns to the role 10 years later for the sequel King Kong Lives, where King Kong survives the fall from the Twin Towers in New York for 10 years in a coma rather than pass away at the end of the film. However, Kong wakes up from his coma when a female ape is brought in to give him some blood, then both of them go on a rampage through Manhattan. Also, a reminder, Peter Michael Gwitt's post-production royalty check was a whopping 3 cents. He has never cashed it, but keeps it stapled to the movie poster in his house. That's just kind of crazy, don't you think? I mean, kind of sad to be honest too. Now, King Kong 2005. For financial gain, a film producer gathers a crew to travel to Skull Island, where they encounter just a little bit more than cannibalistic locals. This is also when Peter Jackson gives it the big modern-day budget that this film deserves. This film, starring Naomi Watts as Ann Darrow and Jack Black as Carl Denham, is often referred to as the official second remake of the first film. Fun fact, the real Empire State Building was completed in 14 months, but the CG counterpart took 18 months to make. Now, Kong Skull Island 2017. This film features a group of scientists seeking refuge from the Vietnam War, who find themselves trapped in an unexplored island in the Pacific, the home of the Great Kong, and must fight their way out. Now, apparently the original movie was nearly 3 hours, but that was cut down to 1 hour and 58 minutes. This one apparently includes some extra combat scenes, so that means I'm gonna have to track it down at some point. Godzilla vs. Kong 2021. The next chapter in the cinematic monsterverse pits two of the biggest symbols in film history against each other. This movie has some of the most impressive visuals in this franchise's history. It's less concerned with human character development than it is delivering the viewers with a traditional monster movie with state-of-the-art computer graphics. Meanwhile, the actress that plays Gia, Kaylee Hoddle, who is unfortunately deaf and shares a strange symbiotic relationship with Kong, which is obviously developed a lot more in Godzilla x Kong, the newest movie. But unfortunately, this is all the time we have for, so we'll have to probably save that for a future part in this project. I still haven't fully decided what deep dive I exactly want to do on part 2 for King Kong, so if you have any suggestions on what you would like to learn next, let me know in the comments below. Anyway, if you did enjoy this video on King Kong, be sure to leave a Kong-sized thumbs up today because there's a lot more movie monster fun on the way, I do say. And if you just so happen to be new here today, there's no better time to hit that subscribe button, I say, because there's a lot more monkey business on the way. Now, before I get too carried away with my calls to action and poetry today, it's time for the build rundown, I do say. The list of materials used for this King Kong skeleton are the following: aluminum armature wire, oven-baked clay, which is what we use predominantly today for the, well, bones you could say, some plasticine clay to help everything stay, as well as some sticky tack, I do say, and tin foil as well, because that's always a good filler to help you save on clay and keep the weight down for King Kong here, because I got a feeling he's going to be very top heavy, unfortunately. Now, speaking unfortunate news, some of you have noticed that I haven't been streaming a lot lately, and I'm gonna try and say this without getting upset. This is kind of hard, but unfortunately, Fu hasn't been doing very well lately, and I think it's about time, unfortunately. Now, I'm not gonna rant on about personal things too much, obviously, but I'll put it this way: I'm gonna miss her dearly, and I know there's a couple fans of her on here, so I figured I'd let you guys know. I'll keep everybody posted as to how she does, but yeah. Sorry to end on a sad note. Hopefully your day is going well. Hey, thanks for sticking around to the very end of the video. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the content, comment below what you think, share with your friends, and perhaps consider subscribing if anything. Anyway, that's enough from me. Till next time, take it easy.